Study Section 6, Principles of Educational Administration 1. Introduction. In the previous study session, you learned about the major tasks of educational administration and the qualities that are expected of any education administrator. This session is built on the last section, that is, qualities of educational administration. It was stressed that not all educational administrators are successful. Those who are successful possess certain qualities. Apart from possession of certain qualities, successful educational administrators are guided by some principles of administration. In this study session, you will learn about the principles of educational administration. Learning outcomes for study section 6. At the end of this session, you should be able to explain what principles of educational administration are. Highlight major principles of administration. Apply principles of administration appropriately. Definition of principles of administration. In a simple term, administrative principles are those general guides to possible action, conduct, and or practice in a specific situation. These principles are prerequisites for top-level executive, departmental heads, and educational leaders who aim to excel in the performance of their functions. It should be pointed out that the success of an administrator rests on his ability to identify and use appropriate principles in specific situations. Generally, there are 5 major principles of administration. A. Fundamental principles. B. Humanitarian principles. C. Prudential principles. D. Principle of changes. E. Bureaucratic principles. The discussion in this session will, however, be limited to only 3 of the principles. These are fundamental principle, humanitarian principle, and prudential principle. A. The fundamental principle. The fundamental principle is also referred to as the universal principle of administration. The principle was formulated by Henry Fayol, 1841 to 1925. There are 3 sub-principles under fundamental principles. These are discussed as follows. 1. Responsibility. This principle emphasizes that each person in his assigned task and capacity must act reasonably at all times and at all levels of the organization. Each person has to recognize his area of influence and act within it dutifully and seriously. This will guarantee commitment to the goals and objectives of the organization, as both subordinate and subordinate will perform their duties as expected. Further, the principle will ensure accountability as it helps to identify who is responsible for what, why, how, when, where, and to whom. In the school system, the different key players are saddled with one responsibility or the other. The school head, teacher, principal oversees general administration as the accounting officer. The assistant head or vice principal deputizes for the head teacher, principal. Subject or class teachers also have their assigned responsibilities, while other administrative staff like secretary, guidance counselor, cleaner, bursar, librarian, security, and other have their schedules. They are all expected to function as expected because if any of them fails to act reasonably, this may affect the entire system. For instance, if a gateman fails to report as and when due to open entrance gate, the entire system is destabilized. 2. Delegation of authority. This principle recognizes that a single person cannot perform all the functions necessary to fulfill the goals of an organization. Thus, it proposed that departmental or sectional functions are entrusted to a person or group of persons on the basis of geographical location, expertise, position, or role. Delegation of authority ensures ease of administration and encourages the use of expertise as well as participation and support or collaboration among the members. It also ensures that administration goes on without difficulty. The school head teacher or principal has a chief executive or accounting office could assign any of the staff who has expertise in accounting to prepare the salary voucher for the school. However, this has to be under the supervision of the school head who has delegated such authority. In order to ensure effective delegation of authority in education, these fundamental questions have to be properly addressed by the education administrator. 1. What should be delegated? 2. Why should the specified duties be delegated? 3. To whom should duties be delegated? 4. What are the limits of delegation? 5. What are the means of evaluating the performance of delegated authority? 3. Communication. Communication is the process of creating, transmitting, and interpreting ideas, facts, opinions, and feelings. It is a process that is essentially a sharing one, a mutual interchange between two or more persons. Every staff needs information regarding the goals and objectives of the organization, its structure, as well as its rules, so that it can function effectively in an organization. Easy and quick information is essentially to every organization. Therefore, administrators must ensure effective communication to facilitate goal achievement. Communication could take different forms in educational settings, especially schools. For instance, vertical line communication provides upwards and downwards means of transmitting information in the school. The downward communication is when the school management communicates its policies, plans, information, and instructions to teaching and non-teaching staff as well as students. On the other hand, downward communication takes place when subordinates respond in terms of suggestions, complaints, and comments, and so on to the management decisions, policies, directives, and regulations among others. B. The humanitarian principle. This principle is one of the tenets of human relations movement. It focuses on how educational administrators should interact with their subordinates or co-workers, particularly when they should make decisions for him or her or for themselves. This principle is also known as behavioral principle. It has the following as sub-principles. 1. Justice. This principle is primarily concerned with the protection of individual workers from abuse and any arbitrariness in the application of group norms in the organization. It is rigid to establish rules and regulations without victimization or repressiveness. Though justice emphasizes equity, fair and due process in the application of group norms. However, rigid application of rules and regulations may violate moral justice. Thus, a good administrator must use his discretion to grant concessions occasionally by tempering justice with mercy. But this must not be allowed to become the rule. 2. Democracy. This principle implores educational administrators that all those who will be affected by a decision must take part in one way or another in making such decision. The ideas and suggestions of all workers at every level of the organization must be recognized. In school system, educational administrator must involve their assistants, heads of units, teachers, non-academic staff, parents, as well as students in making and implementing decisions that will affect them. This calls for openness. Take two. This calls for openness in administration and participatory style of leadership. If the consent of people that will be affected by decision is not sought in the process of arriving at such decision, the educational administrator will not enjoy their support. 3. Human relations. The human relations principle connotes the manner in which the administrator relates with his subordinates. The principle enjoins the educational administrators to identify and accommodate individual differences among the people under him. They must know how to interact positively and productively with their staff, students, parents, and the whole community as a whole. This will facilitate maximum support from them. This principle expects the educational administrator to exhibit such qualities as respect, courtesy, kindness, consideration, confidence, trust, open-mindedness. It admonishes educational administrators to be friend to all, but not a special friend of any. C. The prudential principle. In a simple term, prudence is the ability to use sense and carefulness in the combination of maturity with wisdom, especially by trying to avoid taking unnecessary risks. Prudential principles focus on the need for educational administrators to be highly judicious in the utilization of the scarce resources available to education for the achievement of educational objectives. Therefore, educational administrators are expected to instill the spirit of anticipating, determination, and arrangement, judicious use, and control of the human and material resources in their functions or activities. The prudential principles are 1. Sound economy. This principle enjoins the educational administrators to make careful use of and avoid wastage of limited resources, human materials, money, time, school, plant, and so on, available to educational institutions. Effective planning and optimal utilization of resources are watchwords. However, educational administrators are cautioned in the application of sound economy. It should not be at the expense of administrative effectiveness as well as goal achievement. 2. Responsibility and authority. This principle advocates that every member of the organization must be given appropriate authority in the performance of functions or duties given to them. The individual staff must know to whom and for what he or she is responsible in the organization. For instance, in the school system, there should be clear delineation of duties and limits of authority for every staff to avoid overlapping and duplication of effort, which could lead to goal displacement and confusion. In addition, when responsibility and authority are entrusted, there must be proper control measures to prevent abuse in the use of such responsibility and authority. 3. Loyalty. This principle demands that every member of the organization must be faithful in performing its duties and relating to other members so that the goals and objectives of the organization can easily be achieved. Members must accord loyalty to the organization, its tasks, goals, and to those in authority. Educational administrators must learn how to channel individual or group loyalty without abusing or exploiting such loyalty. 5. Employment of staff. This principle advocates that educational administrator ensures that the right man is in the right job, meaning that the employment process should be based on merit. The advertisement must state clearly the kind of job available, the qualifications and qualities expected of applicants. There should be objectivity and transparency in selection process. Transparency in the conditions for the appointment is very important. On the appointment, proper orientation is required, while placement must be done with care to avoid misfit. D. The principle of change. Change is inevitable. It is applicable to every organism, society, and entire world. Educational institutions, like all other organizations, are expected to understand the fundamental need to change that could exist within the organizations and outside them. All educational administrators are expected to recognize when and where change is necessary, and react to such changes by adjusting the administration according to the process of change. The sub-principles here are flexibility, adaptability, and stability. Flexibility. This principle recognizes that organizations should be dynamic in their decision making, policy formulation, administrative structure, procedures, so as to be easily amenable to change and innovation as situation demands. There is need for flexibility in educational institutions to accommodate changes and innovations required for education to respond effectively to the needs and aspirations of the society from time to time. B. Adaptability. Adaptability holds that in order for organizations or institutions to be relevant and successful in a new and different situation, such organization must possess the ability to adapt to meet newly identified needs and the old ones. The educational institution being operated by administrator should not be too closed that it will be impossible to adapt to any change which might be to advantage of the organization. Therefore, educational administrators should be able to react appropriately to change in the objectives, structure, and functions of the organization as situation dictate. The ability to adapt to changes makes organizations to be relevant. C. Stability. This principle connotes the condition of being steady or unchanging. Even though the principle of stability is not against the principles of flexibility and adaptability, it emphasizes the need to conserve or hold steady the good in the past despite the change in the environment. Educational administrators should preserve those policies, programs, and practices that have proved very useful over time and can still meet the current situation in education. E. The bureaucratic principles. The bureaucratic principles were developed by a renowned classical theorist, Max Weber, 1864 to 1922. He conceived a bureaucracy as a form of organization that stresses order, system rationality, uniformity, and consistency that can maximize efficiency in administration. Bureaucracy is defined as pyramidal, hierarchical, or organizational structure in which all powers for making decisions flows from superordinate to subordinate. The key elements of bureaucratic principles are A. stipulated rules. Emphasis is placed on formally established system of rules and regulations which govern official decisions and actions. Rules and regulations constitute standards against which performance is measured. The existence of rules and regulations in an organization guarantees uniformity and continuity of operations. In educational settings like schools, there are rules and regulations that guide the conduct of teaching staff, non-teaching staff, and students. Teachers have their professional ethics, rules on the time to report and close at school, and so on. Likewise, students have rules on uniform, punctuality, health habits, and so on. Thus, educational administrators should take note that it is not sufficient to make rules. The ability to ensure compliance by staff and students matters a lot. B. Division of labor. This principle emphasizes the fact that tasks of organization are too complex. It means that these tasks have to be shared out to workers based on their skills, competence, specialization, and qualifications. The works of organization have to be divided into components and allocated to workers in such a way that each worker is responsible for a limited set of activities. For instance, in school system, tasks are divided into different units. The staffs are assigned with these tasks based on their specialization. This is why we have teachers handling different subjects based on their qualifications. C. Hierarchy of authority. This describes the seniority concept through which authority flows from the superordinate to subordinate. An arrangement is in such a way that each lower officer is under the control and supervision of a higher one. In other words, each higher officer is responsible to supervise and control a number or group of junior officers. For example, in primary school, authority flows from head teacher to the assistant head teacher, senior teachers, head of unit, teachers and students. Likewise, in secondary schools, the vice principals are under the control and supervision of the principal, while the heads of department are under the control and supervision of the vice principals. Further, the teaching staffs are also directly under the control and supervision of heads of department. If there is going to be any official complaint from the junior officers, such complaint must follow the hierarchy to the top. Protocol must be observed. D. Employment and promotion based on technical knowledge. This element of bureaucracy stresses that only persons who have demonstrated adequate technical training are qualified positions in an organization. In essence, In educational institutions, the employment and promotion of staff must be based on technical knowledge or competence of the staff, that is on merit, ability and experience, rather than favoritism, tribalism, religion affiliation, and so on. Also, workers must be protected from arbitrary dismissal or denial of promotion on purely personal ground to enhance their loyalty to the organization. In personal orientation. This principle reiterates that the working atmosphere of a bureaucracy is formal and should not be impersonal. Therefore, educational administrators should not be impersonal in official matters and must not personalize the means of production and administration. They should remember that rules of the office in a bureaucracy are expected to be rational and technical. There should be no hatred or passion, no affection. Educational administrators are expected to reflect his personal interest or protect the interest of members of staff in their dealings with official issues. F. Documentation and written documents. This principle stresses the need to record all events and activities in organization. Administrative acts, decisions, rules, and regulations are expected to be documented. Educational administrators must ensure adequate record keeping. Rules and regulations that are recorded must be shared with staff for their compliance. The importance of documentation cannot be overemphasized in school administration. It takes for possible continuity in the administration of school and facilitate administrative decisions as well as other changes. The bureaucratic principle aims at efficiency in organizations. However, educational administrators should appreciate its limitations in the educational setting. It should be noted that rigid application of this principle could lead to inefficiency, lack of initiatives, and low productivity. Summary for study section 6. In this study session, you have learned that 1. The principle of educational administration is a general guide to possible action, conduct, and or practice in a specific situation. 2. These principles are fundamental humanitarian, prudential, change, and bureaucratic. 3. The fundamental principles includes responsibility, delegation of authority and communication, humanitarian principles, justice, democracy, and human relations, and The prudential principles sound economy, responsibility and authority, loyalty, employment of staff. 4. Change in every organization is necessary and unpreventable. Therefore, the principle of change, which is also known as the tempo principle of administration, admonishes every administrator to recognize when and where change is necessary and react accordingly. 5. The key element of principle of change are flexibility, adaptability, and stability. 6. Bureaucratic principle aims at maximizing efficiency in administration, though this key element stipulated rules, division of labor, hierarchy of authority, employment and promotion based on technical knowledge, impersonal orientation, and documentation and written documents. This is the end of study section 6. Thanks for listening.